What stopped you from committing suicide? Spite. I told myself that if I am considering ending things, then anything that happens is of no consequence, as according to me I have already lived my life and whatever is happening is only an addition. So when painful things happen I regret not killing myself earlier on, but when good things happen I remind myself that I wouldn't have experienced it if I had killed myself. Definitely not the most sustainable or logical solution, but it has helped so far. A friend of my roommate. At the time I was in college and I was only 20 and had an older friend buy me a box of wine. I started chugging that shit hardcore and texting some dude who I was convinced was going to be my next boyfriend. Only I was severely manic and bordering on delusional. I invited him over to my apartment because my roommates were gone for the weekend. He said no, cause I'd only come over to sleep with you and then leave. I immediately read that and spiraled out of control. I started popping Xanax after Xanax and crying my damn eyes out. I was practically scream crying and started to black out. I hurt myself. My roommate's best friend lived above me. He called the cops because I was crying so loud. They came to my door and I spoke to them, but I have no clue what I said exactly. Before I knew it, there were 8 cops outside my apartment. They took me in because they saw 4 bottles of empty Xanax bottles on my desk. Now I didn't take that much, I just kept the old bottles. But I did take enough to not even remember the events of that day or the next. I was discharged from the hospital by denying everything. I was so mad at that friend calling the cops, but I fear if he didn't, who knows what would have happened. I wish I could say I got help after that. I didn't, but I am here now and things are better than they were. I decided one day at school that today was the day to do it. Mum called and said she had news and to come straight home. When I got home she told me I landed a role in a TV ad. Acting was the only thing I enjoyed at the time and I thought this was a sign to stay alive and pursue acting. So acting saved my life. 2 ravens repeatedly flew around my face with lots of flapping of wings and noise. This stop.me.from.stewing in front of a semi-trailer on a busy road. 11.7k comments and 30 people still typing. God, we really are a bunch of sad assholes. My dog wouldn't understand. I owe a lot to my friends, I don't want their efforts gone to waste. Knowing I wouldn't be remembered for anything meaningful. Fear of wounds, or how hurt it will be, and the problems it would cause if I survived, that includes all the judgment from other people, if I survived it. I couldn't leave my daughter alone in a crazy world. As much as I wanted to disappear, I owe it to her and much more. Her smile was the cure of my depression as well as my dog. He was a big impact on my life and my daughter's too. I miss that fucker. R.I.P. Draco. Crazy how they're only here for a while but drastically change our lives and teach us new things about ourselves. I really don't know. I tried getting help from my mom but all I got was, if you're so suicidal just do it, smiley face, but then again I didn't want the very few people I knew to be sad. I don't have the courage. The idea is if my mother passes here before me, I probably won't bother with never-ending life's chores. I really don't like being alive. It's just a collection of everything I'm not interested in. I want nothing. Sex, friends, money, love, shelter. I want out. My incredible missus who helped me get to a doctor and get antidepressants. My dad, I could never do that to him. What if I survived and I am confined to a wheelchair for life? I can't commit suicide then. Fireworks. Edit, since everyone else is sharing. I had decided to go to the cliffs after my shift, 9 to 10 p.m., ones that I regularly visited. The site was a local hideout for young adults, and I had explored virtually all of it. I had decided that this visit would be the last. I went as close to the edge as I could physically manage, working up the courage to just let go and jump, but someone shot off fireworks in the distance and I could see them. They continued to shoot off more as I watched them come up above the tree line and burst. I was reminded of the time when I was a child witnessing this big fire also far in the distance from a Walmart parking lot, as if it was telling me to look over here. After watching the fireworks, I looked at how far the fall would be and I decided to go home. I had forgotten about the fire. I was so young I couldn't tell if it was a house or bonfire. I always thought it was a house and still do to this day. The similarities are uncanny, I'll never forget it. But the irony is my dumbass didn't realize it was July 5th, so obviously there'd still be some to shoot off. That was like a little over a year ago. I've been to the cliffs since, the same spot too. I like to think it's mine. My mom, dad and baby sister. I always wanted to be a mother. So, when I was 20, I set up a 10-year goal. However, 2 years ago at the very start of the pandemic, I was assaulted. I tried to move on as per normal, but I felt stuck. I got therapy 8 months later and I was doing okay. Last year November, I met my BF and I told him what happened. He was really sweet and offered to take care of me immediately. Well, one thing led to another and I got pregnant pretty early in the relationship. I made my goal. Turn 30 and early this September I will have a baby girl, smiley face. I stopped one of my best friends from trying on a drunken night. He kept asking for his keys so he could go for a walk and he would need them when he got back, but I locked all the doors in his house and the gate. He asked me to help him do it at one point. The way it made me feel when he said that is what made me convince myself I would never do it. We were both in a horrible headspace at the time and now we both work together at a fun workplace. Another thing that seems particularly silly is I'd like to see my favorite sports team win trophies. As a lot of people said, my pets. Mainly my parrot, such a loving, cuddly and awesome personality guy. But he is a bit weird and only likes me. So whenever I have the thought, I'm like I can't do that to him, who is gonna take care of that little shit? My curiosity about what life would have in store is marginally greater than my curiosity about what death would be like. I'm not unhappy or suicidal, I'm just incredibly stoic and unafraid of death. In the grand scheme of things, the universe doesn't really care whether I exist for another day or 100 more years, but I'm not here to please the universe. The film Matrix, and waiting for a bit of time. I felt I needed to watch the sequels of such a masterpiece. I just could not miss something else from that world. And Animatrix was good, and promising. The sequels were not worth waiting for, but at that point I was in a very different place and the idea was no longer in consideration. The woman I now call my wife saved me. I've seen how it affects other people firsthand. I won't ever forget the sound of my mom crying when she found out her sister had died. My mom and seriously thinking about places I wanted to go and how they might make me feel. Everyone trying to tell me I was suicidal. I'm determined to prove them wrong. Pretty sure they were wrong in the first place, considering everything they did to help me just made my depression and anxiety problems way worse, but I'm still here. I thought about how much I loved to draw. I was around 10 and just left a house full of extreme abuse, and drawing was really the only thing that made me feel joy. And I wanted to work for Cartoon Network and create a show like the ones that gave me an escape from reality when I felt so alone. I was standing on a deck of an apartment building several stories above the ground, and I am so glad I didn't jump, because I am now going to a school to peruse animation and hopefully make my own show one day. Smile. I can't traumatize my child. Fucking bitch of a now ex-wife, decided she would rather start fucking every guy in town but me, finally admitted part of them. I went to Odd, and the whore had the audacity to call an ambulance. She took my whole meaning for life, decided fucking others while being married was cool. I tried to take an exit, she took that from by calling rescue. I wish she would have left me where she found me. All she had to do was turn off the lights and leave the house. But no, she had to take that away from me too. Skeptical destroyed a life. And prolonged suffering. Fuck her. Can't find a painless one, and one way where nobody would know. A tab of LSD in a fuck it, may as well try it if I plan on dying. Never felt that feeling of desperation or disdain for life since trying it, Had a reasonable bit of therapy after them times and now consider myself happy and successful, but it honestly amazed me how much a £10 piece of paper in my mouth could change my entire life perspective. Cool future tech, I wanna see how the human experiment goes. Hunter x Hunter, JoJo, and Berserk. R.I.P. Mura. Realizing it wouldn't matter if I did or didn't kept me thinking for a while, then fell asleep. I'm a coward. I actually tied my rope pretty tight around my neck and ended up passing out while also falling off my step stool. Fortunately, the rope I had tied at the top wasn't as tight as I thought I had made it, and I ended up passed out for a couple of minutes on the floor of my garage.